Well, they call it the summer edition of the world's greatest party for university students is gearing up to pick up the baton at the Chengdu 2021 FISU World University Games are just around the corner. So 12 years after the Shenzhen 2011 Summer University, as they call it, the Chengdu is going to be hosting the 31st summer edition of the FISU World University Games from the 28th of July to the 8th of August 2023. So thereby making it the third city in the Chinese mainland to host a summer edition of the Games. Exciting times indeed. So with no more than, a couple of days to go, the preparations are in full swing for our very own Team South Africa to deliver spectacular games. And the president is here with me in studio. Nomsa Mahlangu joins us to let us know just how the preparations have gone as they jet off this coming weekend. Madam President, it's been a while, hey? You come in with royalty, former president's birthday. Hey, I hope it's not your birthday today.
No, it's not.
When is your birthday, by the way?
My birthday is in February, the 9th.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. I'll make sure to align things before Valentine's Day next year. Because it's that month of love, is it?
Oh, yeah.
Welcome. I know I haven't seen you in a while. And we were just excited with the prospect, the trip that's happening this weekend. Straight to the point, how ready is everyone for it?
Well, Team South Africa is ready because preparations started in 2019 when we finished with the Napoli Games. So in essence, our students are looking forward to collecting medals because these games are all about collecting medals. In 2019, we came back home with 18 medals, and this year we are aiming for more than 20 medals.
What's changed?
Well, it's all about improvement. Every time we go to World University Games, we need to improve, and we've set a target for ourselves at 20, but I'm sure the boys and girls will do much better and probably get us 23 medals in 2023.
And everyone's been fascinated by the role of universities when it comes to the elite athlete development as well. Give us a bit more detail about that.
Universities are at an advantageous place because, one, we have all the necessary resources that are required for athletes, because it's not only about the infrastructure that naturally federations and communities would not have, but we also have the scientific support, the psychological support that is there within universities. Therefore, as universities, we've continued to play an integral part in the development of our elite athletes. If you look, those that have gone to win medals at be it the Olympics, be it your international tournaments, they have started at university, and some of them are still based at universities because if you know, Swimming South Africa is based at Tuks, then therefore it is not by mistake that swimming continuously collects medals. It is all about the work that is being done by the High Performance Center at Tuks.
I was going to say that High Performance Center has done miracles even for, when you talk about track and field. That has been an amazing job they've done. Recently in the news, there's been talk about Caster Semenya. She's been a regular there, and that's where she puts in a pound of work, and that's good to see. And also just the relationship between USA and the federations. Is that smoother now? Is there a bit more love that's being shown?
Well, everywhere there are challenges, but obviously because USA is a multi-coded body, then therefore we are bound to have relations, firstly with SASCOC as a multi-coded body themselves and an Olympic body. But as USA, we are then associate members for all the federations. In some federations, it is a lovely relationship. In some federations, there are a bit of glitches. But like any journey, there are robots. There's all sorts of things that slow you down. But at the end of the day, we continue to coexist and we assist each other.
So would these stay on for a long period? Will there come a day where that coexistence is not subject to X, Y, and Z, that there's a common goal and there's a common theme, and whatever it is that you aspire towards, as you say, whether it's Olympic Games, Commonwealth Games, All Africa Games, whatever it is, the commonality exists?
Well, I think like human beings, relations today, they are fine, tomorrow they are not. It's all about communicating and finding each other. And most importantly, all of us do what we do because we love what we do, one. Two, because we want to use sport to change lives. And as Utatuma Diba said, you know, sport is the one thing that unifies all of us. It is the one language that everyone understands. Surely you were speaking about the World Cup starting.
Yeah, 2 days.
Exactly. Everyone will be gunning and watching their different teams because everyone wants the teams to do well. And South Africa is hosting the netball. All of us want netball to do well, regardless of where we come from. So at the end of the day, it's all about advancing sport, but most importantly, changing lives through sports.
Now, when you merge the two, you talk about university. That's a career. That's people studying. And then you're merging sport as well. So you almost have this dual career that's happening. What are the outcomes of that? And how many of the students are succeeding in excelling in both?
Well, a lot of the people that have come through the system have been able to succeed. Casta herself was a successful athlete, but also she's done very well because the last time I checked, she was doing her master's. I'm not too sure how far she is. Akani himself has graduated. So in essence, it's all about federations and universities giving the necessary support to athletes. And one needs to bear in mind that a sporting career is not that long. Therefore, we need to encourage our athletes to go and study because obviously people retire in sport. Say if you're lucky enough, at about 40 you retire. Then what happens between 40 and 65?
That's a big question. I think not too many people have got the endurance further than 40. You can only name a couple of people that have mastered that. Others retire, especially within the boxing fraternity, and then they come back because they believe they can't live without the invincible tag that is attached to them. But you can't say that, especially within team sport. That's almost nigh impossible. But then talking about that, the athlete selection process, the difficulties around that, trying to get the best to then travel, because this is, again, an investment.
Yeah, it is. But it's also about the future because if you look back, Akani's first medal internationally was at the World University Games. Tatjana herself and even a lot of athletes start at school, for instance. They go to university. And when they are at university, it is at the time when they are at their peak. And it is then that as South Africans, we need to work together because the teams that are traveling get approved by the federations. And in other sporting codes, it's very easy to select because people are chasing time. But in team sport, like in basketball, you need to find your best athletes and you also rely on your national team coaches. So when we select these athletes, we work together with national team coaches in all the federations so that the teams that we select are teams that would then represent South Africa. Like now, I'm sure 50% of the athletes that we are taking to the World University Games will be going to Paris to represent South Africa in the Olympics. So it is a stepping stone.
What we've found, especially in the past 2 weeks, as far as this show is concerned, but we've noticed it even outside of this platform, Lyle Foster, about a week or so ago, we spoke to him, talked about mental illness, the strength that you need. He might be succeeding, might be playing the EPL, but he's gone through a dark period. And just coincidentally on Friday, when we had Wade du Plessis, our legend, down in Durban, and he himself, without prompting, nearly broke down and cried, talking about the darkness that he fell in and saying that sometimes people think that being an athlete, being a superstar, you're invincible, and yet you're not. How important is it to take, for example, a psychologist like you're going to be doing right now and the role that they'll play in ensuring that all of that doesn't go unsighted? Because if people don't speak up, as a psychologist, you need to pick up certain traits.
I think it's very critical for us as human beings to realize that mental health issues are important, because a lot of the times, and particularly from our background, when you don't feel a physical pain, people say it's not an ailment, you are not ill. What are you suffering from?
Or you're a sissy. You
exactly.
Just, you're copping out and so on.
Exactly. Now, it becomes important that at a very young age, we teach our athletes the importance of speaking out when they are not happy, when they are uncomfortable, but also coaches need to understand that they need to push to a certain extent, because in most instances, athletes end up in these dark places because they are no longer achieving. And like anyone else, you have your ups and downs, and society also needs to understand that, because a lot of the times, and now with social media, people will say a lot of negative things about other people, not realizing what it does to their mental health. And at the end of the day, it affects their entire wellness. And with athletes, everyone expects a certain team to perform, yet the person who wants this team to perform can't even run 100 meters to save themselves.
Now, on Salim Maju, on Twitter, saying that I think it's high time that the High Performance Center at UP Tuks needs to be replicated in other provinces. It is a must, and we can produce high performance across the country. This has been proven many, many times. Madam President, would that be true? To say, let's not rely on Tuks. Let's have multiple of these.
Well, I just used Tuks as an example, but a lot of other universities are doing a whole lot of work. Wade van Niekerk, for example, he has never been to Tuks, but he's doing very well. He comes and he hails from the Free State University. So, Rashwell Sumai, has never been in Tuks. UJ Boy. So, in essence, all universities have a certain degree of high performance, but it becomes important that these relationships are formalized with federations. A lot of work is also happening in Stellenbosch. My friend Ilam will be very angry that I didn't mention her. So it's really important for society to also know that there are a lot of universities that also look for talent, that invest in the talent, and ultimately we have stars.
Talking about stars, we need female football stars. And there was a rumor circulating that there's going to be a partnership between, UJ as well as Orlando Pirates. Because as you know, CAF has mandated that all teams that are wishing to participate in their respective interclub continental competitions, this has got to be the route to go. Are we about to see the signing soon?
We are about to see a relationship. Whether, I don't know what about the signing, but we have relationships with a number of clubs. We open our doors to a number of clubs because others want to use our high performance for testing.
But you're giving me a presidential answer now. I'm zooming in on Orlando Pirates as a club that has, according to our Scorpions, we've been informed that they would love to have a relationship directly with yourselves.
We already have a relationship. And I'm not
formalized?
Formalized. I'm not too sure, Rob, what is formalized and what is not formalized. But we have a relationship. We play in the Pirates Cup when the Pirates Cup is on. So, there is a relationship.
But does it comply to what CAF mandates is all about?
Yeah, it does.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
So that's where we'll leave it.
Let's leave it at that and focus on university sport.
Now, I'm going to throw a couple of things around because you're going to come back and tell us the good news when you do come back. Was I think I was going to chat about the cultural integration and participating, which is important, but I also thought with 2 days to go before they start with the FIFA World Cup, the Women's World Cup in Australia and New Zealand, that I'll get your thoughts. I mean, you're a sports person all round. The shenanigans that have been going around, how that would be affecting our ladies right now is their main focus should have been on how they play their first game against Sweden and how they progress, how they get through to the next round.
It's really unfortunate that we have found ourselves where we are. And for me, this is something that could have been avoided because everyone knew the day Banyana qualified that they will go to the World Cup. And in essence here, the federation and the players themselves could have started negotiations much earlier. And we are where we are now. The girls need to refocus their energies in playing football, which is what they are in New Zealand for, and ensure that they bring the results. Because the unfortunate part is, we spoke about mental health earlier. Society is very biased and judgmental. A lot of people will forget what Banyana has gone through before their first match. People will start calling them names if they don't do well. And my plea and my prayer to God is that Banyana must just do well. And in them doing well, then society must also stop being, I'm looking for a good word, but I can't find it. But society are hypocrites. When Banyana came back from AFCON,
yes,
the airport was packed. We couldn't move. A few days later, Banyana play a match. The stadium is empty. And these are the same people going on social media saying a whole lot of things. The society is not different from SAFA, because you can't say you support a team but you've never gone to the stadium to watch them.
You don't even know 3 players.
Exactly. Now, what are we talking about? So this message goes to all South Africans. Start supporting our teams and stop being hypocrites. Because people try and score cheap brownie points on social media, and they say this and that about the federation, but there's no difference. So South Africans, stop writing on social media. Unfortunately, I'll just read. I won't respond to them on social media. But fact is, let's fill stadiums for our teams. It's not only about Banyana. It's the women's cricket team, the Spa Proteas in Cape Town. I hope people have bought their tickets. I won't be around, but I've ensured that I bought tickets for my granddaughter to go watch.
Yeah, and just a reminder, 10 days to go before that event starts in Cape Town. You could have been the SAFA president.
I knew this was going to come.
No, the thing is, we can't disconnect. I know I'm flat out of the time we have with you, but I just couldn't help think that, you know, you were deemed to be ineligible. So there's a lot of things that come with being ineligible because you were not, you know, voted for, surprisingly, by SAFA regions. You were nominated by USA, for example, and that was the ineligibility that brought us to where things are right now. I mean, how do you feel about it months later?
I'm okay with it.
Is that fair, though?
Life is never fair. So I'm one of the few people that believe in all things happen in good time. So it wasn't my time, and I'm not going to push and force it. My time will come. And whether it is in the next election or whenever, it will come. But at that particular time when I was deemed ineligible, I decided to focus on other things. There are other things to focus on. And I always say this to the young people around me. You don't need a leadership title to lead. You can lead in different places, yet make an impact on all the places that you want to be in.
But you'll still be yourself a president one day.
Before I die, yes.
I love that honesty.
Good evening, Rob. It's the Bohoye Rob. I'm blown away by Sis Nomsa Mahlangu, listening to her unpacking the detailed plan that they've put together since 2019 to prepare the athletes for the university games that are upcoming. And for me, Rob, also, I feel heartbroken because this is a type of a leader that we are robbed of, because I remember she was contesting to be the SAFA president, and this is the leader that we never got to experience her leadership, because I believe, Rob, with her at the helm, our football would have progressed much further to what we are talking about today, the issues of players not getting their bonuses, contract disputes. And Rob, I'm heartbroken because I believe Sis Nomsa Mahlangu has got the credentials to have taken our game to the next level. Thank you so much. Wishing the team all the best at the upcoming games. Tebogo,
thank you so much indeed. A quick response to that?
All in good time, Rob.
Yeah.
It will happen. And again, I want to emphasize this. It's not only SAFA that requires leadership. It is all other places. I'm currently leading USSA.
Yeah.
I'm still making the necessary impact. And there are a lot of better leaders than I am. So it's not about me. It is about the cause. And what is the cause? In football, we need, what is it that we need? I'm asking you a question.
What is it that we need?
Yeah.
We need to be great. We need to be in the top 20 of the FIFA rankings for the men's team. We need to be in the top 5 for Bafana Bafana on the continent. We can't go as worse as we have. We've been in the top 18 under Clive Barker before. We've been number 1 on the continent before. We've won Africa Cup of Nations gazillion years ago in 1996. That is a terrible record. That's a record that we cannot be proud of. Zambia have come through again, winning it 7 times, COSAFA. Where? In Durban. Where? In South Africa. Previously, Zambia came to South Africa to train in South Africa using South African facilities. Who won the AFCON that year? It was Zambia, not South Africa. So we have the facilities. Other countries see the value of using these facilities, but we, with the facilities, bring absolutely nothing to the table.
But that, for us to bring something to the table, it doesn't only require SAFA.
Yeah.
It requires a lot of other partners, including the PSL, including society themselves.
Yeah.
And people need to understand that if in our own communities we do not support sport, we would not go anywhere. You know, I'm privileged in the sense that I'm able to attend a lot of national competitions. And the unfortunate part, Rob, is that parents support their kids in other races. Our race, the parents are not there. They are somewhere at Chisanyama, somewhere.
Nice time.
Exactly. We don't invest in our youth. Yet later on we come complaining. And all of us know Chad's story.
Yeah.
Chad succeeded because
Daddy
both
was there.
his parents were
Mommy
there.
was there.
Now, how do we expect a star when the parents are not available? People must stop making excuses and start investing.
And that is why we're investing in you to come back with the medals. How many are we expecting when you come back?
I'm committing to 20.
20 medals.
Yes.
So that's the FISU World University Games. You leaving when on the weekend?
The first, we are living in 3 groups. The first group is leaving on Saturday.
Safe journey. We'll be watching. We'll have you back here with all of these medals, with some of the top performers. I hope so, because we like to celebrate excellence as well. We don't just focus on people that make the front page headlines. The front page headlines get made right here. So bring them back for us.
We'll definitely do that, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, USA President. Sis Nomsa Mahlangu with us right here on #MSW. My next guest, humbly born in Soweto in Pimville, is incredibly well-learned, highly experienced, well-traveled, and what an honor to introduce for the final segment of the show, this rather unsung hero of the game. That's Kelvin Mandla Dlomo. He is Simba SC's fitness trainer. Mr. Dlomo, good to see you, man. Welcome to the show.
Good evening, Bra Rob, and to all the listeners. Thank you for the warm welcome.
I'm looking at this and I'm saying from Pimville, Soweto, all the way to Tanzania. How did we skip certain structures here locally, and you've done an amazing job. Firstly, congratulations. We are very, very proud of you.
Well, thank you so much, Rob. As far as steps skipped, I wouldn't really say they were skipped, but before I say much, I'd say it was God's grace.
Yes.
And I think I've paid my dues in the game. I've tried to start where everybody starts, and I think probably the difference was consistency. I kept trying and trying and trying, and yeah, that's...
But how did you end up at Simba, though?
At Simba, okay, so I've been doing work in the country, of course.
Yeah.
And long story short, what happened is the CEO, the previous CEO, Barbara Gonzalez.
Correct.
She'd occasionally travel to South Africa and engage in some of the coaches that she wanted to recruit for Simba SC. And she was also interested in actually building a sports science or high performance center for the club, which is something that is not really known in Tanzania, high performance center. So then she spoke to a couple of people, and by the work that I've done, some recommendations actually landed up on her desk, and out of all the names that were there, I think my name was at the top of the list. And what then happened is, this is why I say it was God's grace.
Yeah.
She met up with my representative, my agent, Mr. Rustem Simmons.
Yes.
And the deal just happened one day. I just heard my agent calling me, Rustem, calling me, say, hey, would you be interested in going to Tanzania? I was like, of course, sure. And at the time, he didn't even mention the name
club name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is an opportunity. I've been wanting to go out. Coach Peter's been saying, guys, Puman.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? No, let me do this. And then I had a chat with him. He told me it was Simba. And 15 minutes later, he told me that the CEO wants to speak to you. I was like, wow, okay, this is moving very quick.
Yeah.
And I think 30 minutes later, I was in a Zoom call and we had an interview, and they wanted to know how will I actually improve the structures, what can I bring, and we had a very thorough chat about what I could bring to them. And I spoke with the head coach at the time, Juma Mkunda.
Yes.
And the coach was interested in all the ideas that I could bring to the team, and of course they explored my experiences within the country, what I've done, and they were quite pleased with that. And before I knew it, Barbara told me to actually get on a flight the same night. I was like, whoa.
The same night?
Same night.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
So you're packing for you don't even know how long?
No, I don't know how long or what's happening. So I just asked that they give me just like a day or two to sort out my things, and she just stressed that I should make it in 2 days' time so that I'm there for their first match, because the team was struggling with injuries and cramping, and I had already built a name for myself with helping teams to play at a very high level without getting much injuries or cramping or relapse or breaking down in games. So yeah, she wanted me ASAP. And
but what was it though? If I had to be crucially and then brutally blunt and say to you that one of the crucial things people ask about is qualifications, and when you say your name kind of heaped up to the top of the pile, it means that on paper they would have seen something that says, or triggered to them to say, hey, let's chat to this guy. Tell me about the qualifications for you to be where you are right now. Long list,
but let me go for it.
Yeah.
I've got a degree in sports communication and human movement sciences, and then I've got a honors degree in sports science, which deals with the high performance of players, and I've got a honors degree in biokinetics, which deals with the rehabilitation and the prevention of injuries. And I've also got a master's degree in sports science, where my research was focused on football in the area of looking at how high intensity training, how does it actually impact the aerobic capacity of football players. So basically what I was looking at is how best can you train players to improve their endurance, and which is something that everyone is looking at because everyone wants to play this high pressing style, and in order to get that right, you need to really know the energy system. So I really invested my time in that, and I think that became the difference maker.
The difference maker would have been very evident in your time spent at Orlando Pirates, for example. So I'm going to bring it back home and talk about the time when you spent at Pirates. Coach Shredojevic was there, Micho.
Yes.
Coach Rulani Mkwena was there at the time. What was that like? I don't want to say comparatively, but just outwardly, what was that time like with you and Pirates?
It was a great time, you know. Good people, of course. I learned a lot. I think at the time I was still making my name within the game, and I was still learning, you know. I mean, I'm not saying that I have stopped learning, but at the time I still had a lot to learn, and I worked with individuals that shared a lot of information with me, and at the time I was actually very interested in how to actually help players to last 90 minutes and play that high intensity game. And with those interests that I had, the coaches were also intrigued by they were intrigued by this idea of me wanting to know how can I actually improve that. So I started collaborating with the coaches and the sports scientists that were there, because I was sort of like in an assisting role. So I started speaking to the coaches, speaking to the sports scientists, trying to find and go through ideas as to how can we help the team improve. And luckily at the time I had people that were guiding me that had already done this before, and we managed to reach a certain consensus as to how to improve players to get them to play at that high intensity levels that we want the teams to play at. And look, with that said, I was just not only focused on the sports science side. I had the privilege of having Coach Rulani by my side. He guided me a lot with the analysis. I learned how to analyze games, and I was very fortunate that I got to contribute in arguably the biggest game, the derby, the Soweto derby.
Would have been fulfilling, though, because I was going to ask you, in the next minute or so, Soweto derby versus Karaoke derby. Which one, from an intensity perspective? Because you've had the experience of both now.
Look, the Karayaku derby, it takes it. Look, before we can even speak about what happens on the field, off the field.
Is it crazy?
It's crazy.
To what extent, though? Because when we say crazy here, we talk about people going into baths that are full. It's muti, it's this, it's that. But when you're talking about that derby, is it incorporating some of that?
Look, it's crazy in the sense that the build-up starts a month before. You feel it in the streets. When you are camping, look, it's very intense. We have security all around us. Nothing should be tampered with. Where we're eating, where we're sleeping, the club makes sure that you are really guarded, so nothing really happens. And as the derby then builds up to the day of the kickoff, things intensify. Things really intensify to the sense that, look, if for example you are within the team that has not had consistent good results, and going into that derby knowing that you guys have not been producing good results, you might as well have some of your luggage packed before you leave to the game, because chances are, if you've been on a poor string of results after that derby, if you don't get it right, it's lights out. But if you've not been doing well and you win that derby, then you've been given another life wire. Wow. So it's that intense. And
so it's a pack your bags type of intensity.
Yeah.
That's madness. That's crazy. I want to quickly touch on the assessment of the team. some of the players you talk about, and a lot of times when they talk about club versus national team, approaches are slightly different. And being involved in the COSAFA Cup, which is down in Durban, and your involvement there, you talked earlier about the aerobic, etc., where you are, where you're playing, and what sort of intensity you need. Just tell me about how you found that experience. I mean, I know we're wearing jackets here in Joburg, but we're wearing T-shirts and vests in Durban because there's basically no winter over there.
Look, from a club perspective to national team perspective, it's very different. National team, you don't really have much time to prepare, so you need to be very thorough. There's a lot of research that goes into it before even the camp. You need to know the player's status, training status, level of fitness before they come in, because sometimes you don't even really have time to do fitness tests. So you try and gather the information from the clubs, and from there then you can actually start prescribing your training according to the information that you would have received from the club or from the player when they arrive at camp. So at a national team level, there is no time, and everything is done at a very high intensity. There aren't much days for even breaks. So the periodization at national team level is it's very intense, but at the same time one has to be very cognizant that you cannot overdo it, because these players can break down, and then you have the problem where you're sending the player overloaded back to the club. But it's all about knowing your periodization very well, and knowing that, okay, for example, to put it into context, for example, what we would do is for example, today would be a high day, tomorrow would be sort of a low day focused more on tactical stuff. So this is what we call undulating periodization, where you go up, down like a yo-yo.
Yeah.
Because at club level, you're sort of constantly going up, and then you drop the intensity towards match day -1.
Yes.
Or at match day -1, just before the game.
Yeah.
But at national team level, it works a little bit different. It's a more of an up, down than a constant incline, then drop.
Sure. I think that's why you're the expert. That's why we need to hear more from you, Kelvin Mandla Dlomo, Simba SC, the fitness trainer, right here in our studios. I don't know if you have a break. When do you go back? Very quickly.
Actually, I've had no break. I came from Simba, and then a couple of days later I was called into camp, and I think right now I will have a bit of a break because my working relationship with Simba has ended.
And your next step? Local?
I've got a meeting with my agent in the next 2 days, and it will be confirmed. But for now, I think let me leave it at that. I'm a free agent. I'm still looking, but in 2 days' time, something could be on the table.
We'll break it right here on the show. Perfect. Thank you so much, Babajom. Wishing you everything of the best. What a talent, man. What a talent.
Robert Marawa, live on 947.